And okay, so two of you actually solved four questions that I mentioned. One was Amar, and another one was, I think, Vishal. Yes, I think it was Vishal. Yes, Vishal Jaiswal. So the two solved it. One was the Fibonacci series one. Uh, the other one was the try thing that I have mentioned already. That I will actually discuss today, and two other questions, one and two, they discussed and they solved it. I will not go in that detail that what they have solved, rather than I will solve it here in front of you. We had two questions actually. Python assignment. So these were the questions. They solved this one and this one, and they solved the Fibonacci series and try recursion one. Since we are talking about recursion, so we will solve these two only today because I've given it very late at from 1 p.m. or 11 p.m. So we will solve these two today, and rest you can keep on solving till Monday. You can submit your assignments till then. Always submit your assignment uh, like him, like Vishal. Name yourself and from college, school, or whatever you are, rename them, name them like this, the notebook, by clicking on this. And one of you actually asked me a question actually, that how means I have send it in WhatsApp. So how to open it? So you have to move it into your data folder wherever it is, and then you have to click on it. Okay. It is not like we will double click on it and it will open up. First, you have to open up your Anaconda, and then you have to launch this Jupyter notebook. Then you have to navigate to that folder where you have created your assignment and open it. Okay. It's not like an application that you will double click and open up like Word or something like that. So that's what it is. We have Let's come back to what we learned yesterday and what we will learn today. Because there is various lot of thing remaining still. We have to reach the class, certain inheritance, constructors, init functions, etc. So let's continue with what we have learned yesterday. We discussed about the functions. What are functions? Functions are a block of code which only runs. You can guys can hear me, right? You can hear me. Hello, hello. I think yes, yes. Okay. Okay, what we discussed is that function is a block of code which runs when it is called. Important thing is it is a block of code. So whatever is written after this def, my function. So it is a say suppose 4 lines, 6 line of code, or thousands of line of code, whatever you have written. Whenever this function will be called, those whole line of codes will be executed. It can be used to pass the data known as parameters into the function, and a function can return data as well. We discuss what the parameters are and what the arguments are. We have to remember one thing again, that finding the scope is very important of the using white spaces. Like this def has a scope only after those where the white spaces are here. Like this print function will be in the scope of this my function. If there is no white spaces, then there is no function initiated there. To use the functions, we have to pass in certain parameters. If there is no parameter passed, then we can use the pass value also, so that we can programmer use this, that like they define the function initially and later use it to define its values and what codes it will happen inside it. To call the function, we have to put it outside. Like this my function is called here after the without any white spaces. Remember, there are no white spaces. Calling a function with parameter and arguments, we already discussed what are the parameters and what are the arguments for it. Like Emil, Tobias, Linus are the arguments, and fname is the parameter. So whenever this my function is called and ml is passed as an argument, so instead of the fname, this ml will go, and so the printout will be ml reference. Okay. Arguments are short form called in as args, ARGS in Python documentations. We discussed what the Python parameter and arguments are. So let's move further. Before moving further to the recursion, let's come to the Jupyter notebook actually. This one. Okay. So we discussed about the function, defining the function, calling the arguments, knowing what the Python arguments and parameters are. Then we discuss about the number of arguments. So when there are two parameters, there should be two arguments. If we are not defining using arbitrary arguments, if we doesn't want to define it using two arguments, like two parameters, and more than two of the arguments are there, then it will not work. If there are two parameters, then there should be two arguments as written here right now. I will send you this Jupyter notebook so that you can refresh your memory and can see. Like in this, there will be an error. If we run this code, there will be an error. My function is missing one required positional argument, L name. It is understanding that ML is the F name. It is automatically understanding that it will be F name. So while passing the argument, you have to remember that the first thing that you write in as an argument is becomes the first as a parameter, and second in the argument becomes the second as a parameter. Like here, ML is the first argument, become the first parameter, and reference become the second argument and becomes the second parameter. Okay. Now, if he doesn't want to do like this, that defining the n number of argument and n number of parameters and arguments, I have written actually arguments and parameters both same wise. It should be one should be parameter and the other should be argument. So what we can use is we can use args, star args, that is arbitrary argument. What we can do is rather than defining number of parameters here, we can use a star mark before that and pass in number of arguments and handling them using the least kind of commands. Like here the index 0 is used, so the ML will be passed to the kids, and the printout result will be the youngest child is ML. If we pass in 2, then the Linus will be fetched and passed into the kids, and the printout statement will say the youngest child is Linus. Similarly, like arbitrary arguments, arbitrary arguments are shortened as star arguments in Python. This will be important when we will learn in the pip commands and the libraries and other kind of things. Next come the keyword arguments. The keyword arguments are like you define the parameters here, and then you use the key and value pair to pass in the parameter. Like right now, we can change any value here. Instead of doing this, if we have done this, this ML, and remove the child one, and then we pass in the this also. So what will happen right now is Emil will be passed as child 3, Tobias will be passed as child 2, and Linus will be passed as child 1. We have not defined it. So the output will be according to that. Like child 3 will always be what? Emil, because we have defined child 3 first and Emil will be the output. But by defining like this, the child 3 becomes the Tobias. So by while passing the argument, we can change the value of it using the key value pair. So that's why keyword arguments are used. It is the phrase keyword arguments are often shortened as KWARGs. That is KWARGs. KW for keyword and ARGs as usual. Then we can also do similarly as we did for arguments, the star arguments, we can use arbitrary keyword arguments, but you have to use 2 stars for that. And it's like its short form is 2 star KWARGs. Okay. So here what we did, instead of using child 3, child 2 and child 1, what we did is we did 2 star child and we passed these parameters, and inside this we use the least kind of command so that we fetch the L name here. If we change this to F name, the F name will be printed. His last name is L name. So reference will be printed. His last name is reference will be printed. So reference will actually go into this kid parameter because it is being called here inside the function, and similarly it will be printed out. Next we discussed about the default parameter value. as we seen that here the country Norway we has defined, it is the default value. If no arguments is passed, this will be printed out. Like here, I am from Norway is printed out. But when we define a parameter, this default parameter will not be passed. Rather than this argument parameter will be passed and will be printed out. Like here, it will printed out. Here it will be printed out. I am from Sweden, then I am from Norway, and I am from India, and I am from Brazil. This is what we learned yesterday actually. As you can see, the default argument is passed in the second one because we left the argument block as blank. Okay. Then we discuss about passing a list as an argument also. We defined a function. We used a for loop as we discussed day before yesterday, the for loops, and we defined a new list named as apple, banana, and cherry, and we passed the entire list into the function. So now what this my function becomes, instead of fruits, food, it becomes apple, banana, and cherry. And in this for loop, what we did one by one, we called whatever is inside the list. So what the printout is it? What it prints out, first it prints out apple, then it moves back to the function, then it loops to the second iteration and prints out the banana, then it moves to the third iteration and prints out the cherry. Okay. Then we discuss a very important thing, that function can return value as well. Like this function, my function will always return the value of 5 into x, where x can be any argument. What argument? Like this here, 3 is the argument. This 3 will be passed in here, and the value that my function will return is 15. So what will be the output? We also checked it by the parameter that y value is 15 or not. Like here y value is 15, so print statement will be printed. And if the y value is we change this parameter to 6 or 5, so this y will not be printed, because 5 into 5 will become 25, and 25 is not less than 25. 25 is equal. Someone is unmuted. Okay. Then we discuss. So we need to understand that these return statements are very important, because whatever the function does, maybe that value that it calculates, it further use in some program. So by calling that function, we can get that value with a single line of code. That's why the functions are function its values are very important. Lastly, we discuss about the pass statement. When we define a function, there should be some body inside it. But if in case we doesn't want any function to be defined and used, then we can define and not use creating any code, a line of codes inside it. Then we have to pass in the pass parameter. If we remove this pass parameter, it will generate an error. Then unexpected UF while passing message will come, because it is understanding that it is a function, but there is something missing with it. But when we pass the pass parameter, then it will do nothing, just pass on this pass on to the next line of code. It will not create any error. Then we discussed about the recursion function. Recursion function, I don't know, two of you have actually answered. Maybe most of you have understood, but to be very true, if you guys have a problem, I will make you understand that with this new example, that is try recursion model. That is where the program is this. Okay, let's come to the presentation. So what was recursion? Recursion is a mathematical and programming concept that is very much used. There is a very important cons of this method. Using this method is if we loop it for a longer iterations, then this function can take a lot of memory, lot of computation speed and others. So to be very true, recursion is not very much widely used, but there are certain important places where it is used, like creating a Fibonacci series, or doing what with it, the factorial method. Now it means that in recursion, what happens? A function is calling itself. Means there is a function inside a function. Means the function, my function is called inside a function itself, because it is needed by it. This means the benefit of dealing that you can loop through each data to reach the end results. We discussed important thing is the function calling itself. Let's come to the next thing. Like this in factorial, we discussed that what will happen. We have passed in this parameter 5. This 5 will go in here, and 5 will be checked that it is 0 or not. it is not, so it will not return 1. It will enter into this else statement, and it will do 5 into 4 factorial. Now 4 factorial is still not there, so this factorial you can see is being called back in here. So 4 will go here, and now now again it will enter into the else codes, and now it will return a new data, that is 5 into 4 into 3 factorial. That way it will keep on increase until as the k value reaches 0 or 1. Since the 0 factorial and the 1 factorial are both 1, so these any of this condition will satisfy, it will return 1, and finally the output will be 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay, and that will be equivalent to 20. So the output will be recursion example results, and in the next line the output will be 120. Okay, now to understand that this is what this if statement is called as base case to terminate the recursion, otherwise it will keep on trying to go on till infinity. It will keep on increasing decreasing its value, like -1 factorial, -2 factorial, will keep on doing that. We have to terminate it someplace. So to terminate and get the output, we use the base case, and this is called the recursion case, whatever is written inside the recursor in the else case. It means the calling itself function, like here the factorial 1 is getting called out, calling out itself. Now let's move to the another example, which we will try to trace it out on pen and paper. That I always tell you that think how the program is working. Okay, in this statement the print function inside the function may be a little misleading. Now we have this example. Actually we are just using this example. Understand that there is a function called try recursion k. Okay, now if k value is oh sorry, it will return 0, I think. Yes, if k value is greater than 0, that I changed yesterday, I forgot to save, I think. Okay, k value is greater than 0. So what it is doing, it is getting a printout as 1, 3, 6 and 10. So what is happening, this 4 value is going in here. 4 is greater than 0, it is executing inside it, and else will be only printed out when the result will become 0. Well, let me explain it via this code. Important thing is we need to think about these line of code, whatever is in the if statement. Okay, let's come to the presentation again. Okay, so we can write this as this line of code. As you remember, we can call this as this shorthand method you use to remember this. We can call this also like this. Yes, we can do that. So let's consider that line only here in the codes. Okay, so if k is greater than 0, result is k plus k try recursion k underscore 1. So from here try recursion 1 6 is equal to 6 plus try recursion 5. So what we get the result for try recursion 6? We get the result of try recursion 5. So try recursion 6 becomes 6 plus try recursion 5, 5 plus 4, 5, 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3, 2 plus 1. So for 6, the first value will come. That is, and you have to remember that now. Notice that 0 is not greater than 0. So the end result will be 0. And then we can see this, that try recursion 0, therefore the try recursion 6 value is 21, that is getting printed out there. Then the try recursion 5 is getting printed out, try recursion 4 is printed out. That's how it is getting printed out for number 6. Similarly for number 5 can be printed out, number 4 can be printed out, number 3 can be printed out. This is what the recursion program actually does. Okay, this is how actually it calculates. Okay, that's what we are trying to do it here. Anyone has this issue? Someone actually explained it very passionately. You need to understand that we are calling this function again. So this function will be called again here to calculate this. It will be in this if and def statement loop always until unless this value is not equal to 0. Okay, so when this value will be equal to 0, so 0 is not equal to 0, at that time it will move towards this, and the end result will become 0. The result will become 0, and then the whatever the results till now in the if statement, those all will be printed out, because we have used the word print here, not here. We in this example we were actually printing out the results here. Okay, this results will be printed out, but now we are printing out the results these that are here actually. So first it is printing out, that's why let's do that for 6 actually, because I solved the example. sorry, we need to move it back down here because there is a print statement also there. So what it is happening is that first 1 is getting printed out, the 3 is getting printed out, then 6, then 10, then 15, then 21 is getting printed out, because 21 will contain the calculation of all that is back end there. It will be containing this thing. This thing is the final thing. Try recursion 0 will not be happen, because try recursion 0 is not is equal to 0, and 0 will 0 is not greater than 0, so that will not be executed. So it will be adding 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, and that will be 21. Similarly for the other, it will be printing at like 5 4 3 2 1, it will be adding out. Okay, so 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, what is this? It is 15. Similarly 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, what it will be printing out? 7 9 and 10. So that's what the output is. Output is what? 10 15 21. This is the output of try recursion example. Here the recursion is very much used, and there, here also the in factorial it is very much used. Next we will I have actually answered, someone has answered actually, so let's open his notebook. Not this one. Okay, let's go with the example of where have you solved, Vishal? Here is the Vishal's answer for Fibonacci series. Okay. Okay, Vishal, you have got this answer from someplace, or you have solved it? Because exactly something I've seen on internet day before yesterday. Okay, let's solve this example. It is asking enter number of terms, and we are defining this variable as int type. Okay, I'm using someone else answer. Let's try to check it out. Means the Vishal's answer. It is saying that enter the term, or enter the number or whatever we can be. So by using the input method, we take the input from the user. That's what we wanted to do in the assignment. Let's come to the assignment first. This is the assignment. What I have written, that write down a program to print a Fibonacci sequence for any number you want. So we should ask the user that what number of till what number you want the Fibonacci series. And what is the Fibonacci series? It first two terms are 0 and 1, and all the other terms are the sequence of adding the preceding number. So what it is, first number is 0, second is 1, then the third number will be 0 plus 1, that is 1, then fourth number will be 1 plus 1, that is 2, then next number will be 1 plus 2, that is 3, then 3 plus 2 5, then 5 plus 3 8, then 8 plus 3 15. Rishi, so Rishi, you had some issue while sending it on email. Do not answer here. Okay, it's okay. I think our answer is correct. Yes, it is almost correct, I think. First of all, you okay, fine. Then let's come to, so what actually the question is, you have to ask how many sequence or number that we are entering in here with the what we are entering here is that number of times, let's say 10 times. So 10 times when we enter, so it is given 10 times out of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, so this thing is done taking the input of them. Then he defined S and F and counting it from 0 1 and 0. Now if term is less than equal to 0, print in enter valid number. So if we this is very good practice, like if we enter less than 0 or equal to 0, so it will ask that your number is not valid and you should enter it again. Okay, so you have to rerun the program. Now if it is 1, so what it will do, it will say print Fibonacci sequence terms, only 0 and 1 will be printed out, that is S and F. 0 and 1 will be printed out. Lastly he printed out that Fibonacci sequence up to 10, that is 10 is what this is term is, this term is, that's why 10 is here. This is a good way to solve the problems. Now while count is less than term, count is what? Count is 0. Count was initially 0. So you remember that using while loop we have to always use an increment operator. So that's what he is doing. Now he printing out the S value. So first S value will be 0. Then he will be doing a S plus F. So 0 plus 1 he did. Then he wrote that S is equal to F and F is equal to A. He rechanged the value of S and F. Now S become F, and now what was the value of F? F is 1, and F becomes A is what? A is this 0 plus 1, that is 1. So 1 plus 1 is printed out, and that's why 1 is getting printed out. Now the count value he has increased from 0, he has increased to 1. Now this again else loop will be printed out. What will be the value again now? A is equal to 1 plus 1, that is 2 will be printed out, and again the value of S and F will be changed. So this loop will continue until this count value reaches the 10th value, because count is starting from 0, so the ninth value will be used. If we have used the equal statement with it, it will print out 11 of the sequence. So this is a good method to do that. I think Amar also has done the similar kind of thing. He has given a very good explanation of this, very long explanation, very good. Now, this is what he did. Let's understand what Amar did. This is a good method to do that. He defined a Fibonacci series and passed in a parameter known as Fibo. And he initially defined it. I didn't check the result. Is it coming with the correct thing? Let's say 10. Okay, it's coming correct, but you can see yourself, Amar, actually. Let me go into this. Okay, into 6, sorry. And yes. Okay, you use Fibo 1 here. Okay. This is also a very good method. He defined a two variable -1 and -1. By any means, you have to get there. So Fibo is a parameter here that needs an argument. Now what he did is, for I in range 1 to Fibo plus 1. Fibo will be whatever we will print out. We will ask it. Let's see. N is what? INT, input, enter any number. So we entered 10 here. Now Fibonacci 10 will be called. So 10 becomes the Fibo. Okay. So what he did in the range is that 1 plus, he started range from 1. So he used 10 plus 1. If he have used 0, so he could have used till 0 to Fibo. So then he does what? F is equal to T1 plus T2. So -1 plus 1, it is adding 0. And he changed the value from T1, T2 to T2 plus F. Okay, so F value will be stored in T2 and T2 value will be stored in T1. This is a short form method to do the things. This is a very good method that you should attempt, because defining you can see you just read about the functions and you just implemented it in a way by defining the functions and creating the functions and solving it out, doing the lesser line of codes than Vishal. Okay, this is these are more line of codes. Obviously it is also a Zenine method, it is also good, but if you calculate it here, the number of parameters he has defined is, that is 3 here, 4 here. Okay, and he is continuously changing those number. The number of arguments or parameter that is defined here are like here 2, and a Fibo is just used, and this print F is done. So the fourth parameter he generates keeps on updating and looping it through. So those are both are very good method. Both can be used. Although I prefer the shorter line of codes, but this is good. This is good. So everyone understood how this formed. I haven't seen on internal, but मैं इससे C+ पर use किया तो हम दोनों का combination बना दिया, but Python में use करना समझ आ गया. So I haven't changed the codes. That's good, Vishal. That's good. You should try that. I know that you guys can use this. So what was my idea to explain you today is, you should have tried these assignments. Try to solve this. Some are very easy tasks, like 1 and 2 is so easy now that I actually want to solve this in right away in this class. Two of them has solved. 1 and 2 are so easy. This will be a small bit tough one to solve. Whereas this one will also be a small bit tough one. So still, let's solve these questions need to be solved. This will be a good one to solve. Actually, I have already mentioned, this is least comprehension. So please understand that you have to use this thing here somewhere. You have to understand what it is, and we have to understand this, what is lexicographic increasing order. So Google it. That's why I am not spoon feeding you, so that try to understand what is a lexicographic increasing order. Although before that I have not used any kind of these words. Try to solve it on Monday. Most probably we will try to solve all of them, and one day I will actually dedicate before the classes and inheritance the entire revision course till now, means whatever till 110 slides we have reached and whatever we will reach till today. So that we will be doing revision of entire thing. Then we will move towards class, inheritance, and constructors in Python, uh, how it is used, and other kind of things. Now let's come back to the presentation again. Since we have discussed already about the uh, what we have discussed, we have discussed already about the function. There is a special function in Python called as lambda function, widely used in programming because it works as a shortened code or something kind of thing. Lambda function is a small anonymous function. No, already you can say it's a built-in inside the Python library. Lambda function can take any number of arguments but can have only one expression. This is important to understand. Let's understand what is a lambda function. Like this is a lambda function. If you write x is equal to lambda a colon a plus 10, this is a lambda expression. Okay, so lambda is the lambda is that argument is a. Let me annotate it. This is argument and this is the expression. Okay, this is the expression. This is what argument. Use how to use lambda I am explaining, and lambda is as it is called here. Okay, so when we do this print x is equal x colon 5, so x will be passed in here we have not written any def command. You can see this, we have not written any def command, but this 5 will be entered into this x, and instead of a this 5 will be pushed in. So what will be the output? This 5 will be, come here, and output will be 15. It's very tough to write with this annotators. Let me clear it. Again, I will do it. This is the argument. Let me be very slow to write it. And this is argument. Okay. This is the expression. And this is the expression. Okay. Now this 5 is the parameter. We have not written def or something like that. This 5 will be passed in here into this x while printing, and instead of this a, what will be there? There will be 5 plus 10, and automatically when we print out, this printout result will give the value of 15, that is actually equal to x. So you can see this, there is no def function. Okay, there is no def written here. Still it is working out because lambda function is a special built-in function that is used for these kind of purposes. You can use to add, subtract, or any kind of various kind of things can be done with it. So you can use that to create a lot of things. Okay, so output is 15. Why use lambda function? The power of lambda function is better shown when we use them as anonymous function inside another function. So while we use lambda function, suppose we define a function, my function, and we use the lambda function to create certain mathematical operation or certain kind of thing, rather than we doesn't pass in any parameter to the my function argument. So that will be executed immediately inside that lambda function. Okay, so when you say a function definition, that can take one argument, and that argument will be multiplied with the unknown number. Okay, like here we define a function, my function n, and returning the lambda function a is equal to a into n. Okay, this is again, let me annotate this. This is what? This is lambda function. Okay, and this is just general function. Okay, it is a general function we call. Okay, now let me check mouse. Now use that function to define many function and double the number as you can. Now let's understand this. Okay, let's understand this. Here is a definition. Here is a lambda function. What we are passing, my function is equal to 2. So this 2 will come here. So n value will be 2. Now we are trying to print my doubler is equal to 11. So this 11 will be the value of a. Okay, so this my doubler is now a parameter because my doubler contains a lambda function. If it doesn't pass in this 11, it will create an error. Okay, it will say that a is missing because my function parameter was n, and n is already passed, n is passed, right? So it will not, right now it will not create error if it doesn't pass 2 or 11, any kind of these. So it will create an error. Now what it will do, it will double your number. The function is created to just double your number. Okay, let's come to the, okay, let me clear that. I think this one, yes. First, let's check this normal Python lambda function. What it does, 15 it is coming out. If we try now, we can pass in more than one parameter also, that is a and b. Now a and b need to be passed here. A will automatically be 5 and b will automatically be 6. Okay, let's print out the result. What if we do it like this, b is equal to 5 and a is equal to 6? What will happen now? Or let's say change the value 7. Sorry, chat need to be here now. What will be the output? It will be 42. But what I wanted to make you understand that now the value passed for b is 7. Okay, by mentioning that, if we remove this, the value of a will be 7. If we remove that, automatically it will do that. But we discussed this in here now. We discussed it here somewhere. This thing, like we discussed the keyword argument thing. If we pass in the keyword argument, it is correct, but the b value will become 7 and a value will become 6 if we pass in here like b is equal to 7. Answer is correct, but what is happening, that's what I wanted to ask, that a b is getting passed as 7 and a is getting passed as 6. That unlikely, if it doesn't pass in, a will be 7 and b will be 6. That's what the power of keyword arguments is. Okay, now let's see this. What will happen to this? It will just pass in this all three of them and just print out the result, that is 13. Okay, now we checked already the results of this. We already did that. It will give us 33. 11 into 3, 33. What will happen if it doesn't pass in here anything? It is giving us an error. My function missing one required positional argument, and it is understanding that whatever is written here is n because we have defined it here. Okay, and if we remove this and leave that here, leave that there, if we do that, so it will say lambda function is missing one positional argument, that is a. So you can see this, my tripler is defined here, and if we are not passing it, it is understanding that a is not getting passed out. Understand that computer programs are very smart for this kind of activity. Now till now, anyone has any problem understanding functions, because functions are very important thing that we should understand till now. We have to actually complete arrays and scopes also. I think scopes we will start with first. No problem. You guys, I am not able to understand lambda. Okay, let's come back to the lambda function. Okay, why come back to it? Let's come back here. Why lambda function is used, you have to understand first thing. Like len command, like any other built-in command like int or str or any kind of any other kind of built-in command, lambda is a built-in function inside inside Python libraries. Okay, first thing is this, it's a built-in function, so we doesn't need to define it. There is one thing, for any other functions to define, there is a def command preceded by it. For lambda, there is no def is used. This is used to shortly do the mathematical operations or any other kind of things. Okay, any other kind of parameter passing or multiple parameter passing, like we did it here. Three parameters are getting passed out, like a, b and c. Three parameter passing away with lambda. Now what is happening with lambda is that we have to understand this in this example. Actually, let's come back to the presentation. Let's come back to this example. Let's do this again. Okay, like here what we are doing is, let me annotate, this is a function. Okay, this definition is a function. Okay, what it will do, it will return means return some data. My handwriting on this also is very bad, try to understand it. It will return some data. What data it will return? It will return the output of this. Now lambda is itself a function, built-in function. It's a built-in function. Okay, it's a built-in function. What it does, what it is doing here, it is doing this operation. It is taking a parameter a and passing that parameter a and multiplying it with n. What is n? N is this. N is this, correct? So it needs, this function needs, now this my function needs two parameter, that is a and n. Okay, n will be passed by calling this function, and a will need to be passed in other methods. Either we can just do what, we can put the value of a is equal to 2 and call the function my function, so that will be printed out. Let's clear this and let's go to the next thing. Okay, now what is happening here is again the same thing. A is a parameter and n is a parameter, and comes with my function. Okay, so this 2 is passed here at n. Okay, this 2 while calling this. Now you will say, sir, why my doubler is equal to 11? Obviously this is not required, because written a is equal to 11 as well. If you have written a11, automatically this a will have a value of 11, and that will automatically be called. But what we did, we created a new variable known as my doubler and called a function inside it. Now my doubler needs this value. If this value is a question mark here, it's still not there. So how we will do, when we try to print the value of my doubler, we pass this value of a as 11 in the argument. This is the 11 argument. This thing is the argument, and it is getting passed in here. Okay, so now what is happening, the operation of this entire function was what, it is to return a value. What value? That is the multiplication of 11 and 2. 11 and 2, the multiplication of 11 and 2. So what it is, it will print out, it will print out 22. Got it, Mohit? Or anyone else has the problem? Or let's come to the Jupyter notebook as well also. Let me clear all the drawings. We are, yes sir, got it. Okay, okay, if you got it. Any other has any issue similarly? So should I explain it in Hindi or what? हिंदी में बता दूं थोड़ा. लैम्डा फंक्शन में लोग फंसते हैं थोड़ा थोड़ा. फंक्शंस और लैम्डा फंक्शंस में फंसते हैं. ये समझना जरूरी इसलिए क्योंकि क्लासेस में अगर फंस जाओगे तो फिर और ज्यादा डिफिकल्टी, क्योंकि क्लासेस में इनिट फंक्शन आएगा, सेल्फ कमांड आएंगे, ये सब थोड़ी कंफ्यूजिंग चीजें. बट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, दैट लैम्डा इज अ बिल्ट इन फंक्शन. Okay, there are certain things that is built in the Python so that it can help you doing the programming easily. Okay, this is actually an example of a nested function, calling one function inside another function. Lambda is a function, it is being called inside another function, that is my function. Okay, so there are two functions inbuilt nested inside each other. Currently we have not seen any example of nested function yet, but we will see it today. We will see those examples today. Anyone has issue understanding lambda function or functions, anything in functions, like what is recursion, what is pass statement and others? No issues. Should I move again forward? So let's come to the Python scopes now. You have heard this word a lot from me. You have heard, you might have read it somewhere else also. Any issue? No. So what is a scope is an important thing. What is a scope? First, we define. I have used the word scope to define, like using white spaces or white spaces to define if loop, if and else statement, while loops, for loops. Then we also discussed in functions as well using the white spaces. What does white spaces do? White spaces define the scope of that function. Okay, that function works for that places till that thing. Now we will talk about the scopes inside of about a variable. Okay, how does a variable scopes work? Similarly, as in C++ or Java or any other, Python also has a scopes definitions that we can use handily. Let's try to understand that also. A variable is only available from inside the region it is created. This is called scope. Let's understand that. Where it is created, where that variable, like a is equal to 2 is a variable that has a value of 2. Now where it was defined inside a function or outside a function is very important to understand. Okay, there is one thing called as local scope, there is another thing called as global scope. Now a variable created inside a function, like we have written def my function and something inside it after white spaces a is equal to 2. Now a is equal to 2 has a limitation that it cannot be called from outside of the function. It cannot be called to the outside of the function. A doesn't have any value outside that function. A has a value just inside that function. So a has a scope of a local scope, means a only works with the my function definition. It will not work with the my function underscore 1 automatically. If we will call if we have written two function, my function 1, my function 2, and if we try to print out the my function 2, then my function 1 variable will not be called inside the my function 2 because it will have a local scope to my function 1. Only when the my function 1 will be called, then only it will be used. We will go and do it in Jupyter Notebook to understand it better also. Okay, like here x is what is a x at 300 has a local scope. So x, that variable, has 300. Now if instead of my function there will be another function called my function 2, and if we call that my function 2, that will not print out the value of x because my function 2 doesn't know what value of x is. Okay, we will check that. We will do that actually. Let's do actually. I have created this, but let's do this. Uh, let's do this. Like here, we can print out the result. It will print out what? 300. Now let's do this. Okay. Let's call this variable y. Let's change this parameter actually 200, and let's name it 1. Let's name it 2. Okay, and let's call 1. Let's call 2. Okay, let's print out. As you can see, let's remove this for the time being. As you can see, if we have not defined x, let's say this, it will create an error because my function 2 doesn't have any parameter. X is not defined in here. Okay, so let's print high. Let's print high. Okay, let's print a string. Understand this. Okay, नहीं, but हमें तो example में वही चाहिए ना. Understand this x has a value 300. Okay, now when we try to get my function 2, okay, it is calling this variable, not this one. It will never call the variable 200. If we call the my function 1, it will print out the local variable that is x here. It will not print out the variable of my function 2. You can see this x 300 was created first, and this was created after 2 or 3 lines of code. Okay, but still this is not get it printed out because this x has a local scope. It only works with my function 2. It doesn't work with the my function 1. So that's why when we call the my function 1, the 200 is not getting updated on x. It will only work with the my function 2. Okay, so let's come back to the presentation. No one has the issue with this? I don't think so. Now why we use this? We actually called this thing. We are actually just discussed this thing, that is calling function inside a function. First, let me annotate it again. First, there is a function. This is first. Then this is another function. Okay. I'm doing two things here. First, I'm explaining you the function inside function. Okay. This is the first function, my function, and inside that function we have created another function. This my inner function does what? It prints x, the value of x. But inside this function, you can see there is no value. There is no value written for x, but x is written here. Okay, this x is written here. So it is in function, first function. One. First function we have written. In second, there is no x. But when we are calling this inner function, automatically this x will be passed in here, and this x will become 300 inside the inner function. So this can be done inside nested functions. We can do this, and when we will call the my function, what is the final thing that happens inside the my function? That is printing the value of x. So what will be printed out? 300 will be printed out here. Any issue with this thing? Understanding this thing? As I have written here, local variable can be accessed from a function within a function. It was defined in the my function, the first function, but it can be called inside the function that is defined inside this function. Means it becomes global for this function. You will understand it on the next slide more better when we talk about the global and the local both. Okay, so this can be called inside this function because this is a part of this function. Okay, this value will work. Yes, Meena Sheikh, you raise your hand. Any questions? No questions. You can type in or say. Okay, let's move on to the global scope. Then we will understand that. Now, what is a globe? No, sir. No. Okay. Global scope. A variable created in the main body of the Python code is a global variable and belongs to the global scope. Global variable are available within any scope, global or local. This is very important. Let's see an example. This x is not defined. This x is not defined inside this function. Correct? Still, it will print out what? It will print out the result. What it will print out? It will print out 300. See why it will print out 300 and why it will print out twice the 300. This x is defined in global. It is not defined in this function. So it is global. We have written it here. It's global. Now we are printing x. So this x value will be passed in here inside the function, and x will become 300. Okay, so this 300 will be printed out first because we called this function. After calling this function, this will be this first 300 will be printed out. Then we are printing x. So as we say print x, this x value will be called in here, and automatically this 300 will be printed out. That's why twice it is getting printed out. If we remove this won't be printed out. Okay, mute yourself. This won't be printed out. Okay, now if we move to the next, let me clear this. It's a doubt. Yes sir, puche sir. Rishi, pucho, ask. Unmute yourself and ask.
Sir, what's the use of second my function then?
Where is the second my function here? In this one?
Yes sir.
In this one?
No sir, the latest one you showed.
Where is two function? There is only one function here.
No sir, you wrote def my function, and after that you again wrote my function. That one.
This is calling this function. It will not print out the value unless we have called this function. This is calling.
Acha, okay sir.
This is just to call. Na, we discussed that See, we actually check that now. If it doesn't do this my function, this value will be calculated, but it will not be printed out until unless called. Until unless it is called. A function will only produce output or only return the data if the function is called. This is what we discussed in the very first slide of the functions. It's okay that you miss that point. And this print variable is just to show that it is twice. Why it is getting twice printed? It is once it is getting printed out from there, and now it is getting printed out from here. Okay.
Okay,
Any
sir.
other doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's move to the next thing. Understand that this is a global, and if something is written here, it will be local. Let's come to the next slide. We will understand it better. What is the naming variable? If you operate with the same variable name inside and outside the function, Python will treat them as two separate variables, one available for the global scope and one available for the local scope. Let's understand it. This is very important. Okay. Now, what will be the output of this? Write in the order. Correct. Very good. Two have answered correctly. Three have answered correctly. Four, five, six. Very good. Very good. Very good. I like this when person answers correctly. Darshan, it will be in a new line. But Rajpal Panwar, it will be in a new line. Yeah, but it's okay. I hope you understand that. Okay. Now let's understand this. Let me actually show whatever is on the screen. Sorry. Output will be 200, 300. Why it will be? Let me explain once so that those who have not. First, we have defined a variable 300. Okay. Then we define x is equal to 200 and print x. Now this local variable will be there. Okay. So this x will come up here, and when this my function is called, this 200 will be printed. And what this x has a value? This x has this global value that is 300. Do not misunderstand that this is also x and this is also x. This x is local, correct? And this is what? Global. If this local value was not present, then only this global value will go. If it is not present, then only this global value will go. If it is present, so it will understand that we have to use the local value scope and print out that result only. It will not call from the global, because it is overwritten kind of thing that is going on. Let's come to the very next example. This is very less time is remaining. I wanted to complete array actually. Actually, I think we will be. Now, what is global keyword? In case you create a global variable but are stuck in the local scope, you can use the global keyword, and the global keyword makes the variable global. What does this line mean? The line means this. Okay, what is happening here is we have used a keyword global. Okay, so now x will become global. So writing x is equal to 300 before this line, and use defining thing like this are same. This value is equivalent to this. Okay, we can try to do that also, and it will eventually print out the value of x. That x has a value this 300. So we can have done this also and then this also. So when certain times we need to define a global variable from inside a function, then what we do, we define the variable using global word. We just add a word global. We could have also written like this here, global x is equal to 300. We could have written like this also. Okay, so that's what we can do, and the output will be 300. Okay, now let's remove this. Now also use the global keyword if you want to make changes to a global variable inside a function. Let's come to an example. What will happen now? What value will be printed out? Just think what is written above on the statement and after that answer this. No, just think first. It will not give us two output, Aditya. There is only one print statement there. Or will it give two outputs? Sorry, I confused you a bit. Just read the line first, because I'm getting 200, 300, 200, 200, 200, 300 kind of outputs I'm getting. Just read the line. Try to understand what is going on here. The output will be 200. So why? It's only one 200. Yes, Akshay, you raised your hand. Because we use a global keyword.
Yes, sir. Firstly, we define x is equal to 300. Then inside my function, again we define a global x. Then x value will be changing into 200. Then after we print my function, that it output gives us 200.
Great, great, exactly. So understand this. This is what it is happening here. First, this is the global scope, X variable, correct? He said global scope one. Then we defined the value variable again, redefined it, the global variable as X. Okay, and we change the value to 200. And when we call that function and print out that result, the output will be 200. Okay, so this is what is happening right now here. First, this is defined as global. Okay, understood that. But then we redefine this X variable as global inside this function. Okay, and we are calling this function. So now the global value will be updated to 200 from 300, and that's why what you should understand. It will print out only one 200. Okay, it will print out that only. So that's what the ease of using the global scopes. That way we can suppose we have defined a variable int a, we have defined a something value 0 in the starting of the program. Then we write something inside a function and define the global variable a and write a program to update this value of a. Can we use global x is equal to 200? Try that, Ajij. Try that. We can use it or not. You also have a notebook, Jupyter notebook. Try that. It gives error or not. So these are very small things. That's why I say you to try that. You can see that if the error comes or not. If the error comes, you will see that what the error was. If doesn't, what error, why it is working or not. Got it. So uh, uh, what we did is we defined this 300 first. Let me explain it again. Then we defined a function. Sorry. We defined a variable 300 with a variable x with a value 300. Then we defined a function. In that function, we redefined x as a global variable and changed its value to 200. Then we called that function. As soon as we called that function, the value of x from 300 it becomes 200. Okay, it becomes 200. And then we are typing print x, so this 200 will be called in here and will be printed out. Yes, it will be invalid syntax. That's why I said that read the errors. Now let's come to the Jupyter notebook for this. As usual, we discuss this again, the function inside function. We have discussed this, but still I have written it here, so I will go on by that. Then global scope we discussed. X is equal to 300, then we printed out X, then my function is equal to this, then we printed out X, then it is giving us two results because there is a print statement inside the my function. That's why it is getting printed out twice. Okay. Then we discuss the naming variable where X is equal to 300 and X is equal to 200. Now this is a local scope, this is a global scope. But when we call this function my function, the local scope one will be called out. So the 200 will be printed first, and then the value of 300 will be printed because of this print statement and this global variable. So when we print out, it will give 200 and 300. Global keyword variable, we also discussed that defining a variable as global and printing out its value. So it will print out 300. Lastly, we discussed this, that 300 and 200, and we printed out its results. Okay. You guys have already tried that global X is equal to doing this creates an error. Okay. It is not possible to do this. Okay. What will happen if we do this? It will again give you error because with global there is only the arguments that are valid that can be created. Can we do this? And then, and after that, we can define X is equal to 500 and Y is equal to 600 and print X comma Y. We can do this, correct? So the two variables are getting printed out. We can define n number of variables also with the globals. Okay, n number of variables can be done. And what will be the scope of X and Y? It will be both again global. Not only X, the Y will also be global. Understand that? Understood this? I think we doesn't have enough time today to complete array, but let's do the presentation part of the array. So if anyone has any issue with the scopes or functions or lambda functions till now, because the next class will be of a revision one. Tasks we will complete first. We will discuss the task. I will try to increase more tasks because tomorrow is Sunday. If I or someone from my office will have time, they will increase some more tasks. At least 15 questions should be solved by you till Monday. Okay. First, try to solve those all 8 one. I have shown the results of 2, but the other 6 ones are tricky ones. Try to solve those all, and I will just complete the array part in just small like small definition wise what it is array and others. Python में array होता है या नहीं? Is there an array available in Python or not? We will just discuss that, and we'll cut short the class for today, and we will do that again in when we will do class, inheritance and others. We will understand where the array is used. Okay. What? How many of you say that arrays exist in Python? Does Python have or not? No idea? Okay, it's good. A clean slate is better than wrong slate. Python does not have built-in support for arrays, but Python list can be used instead of arrays. There is one question that will arise entire through this slide, that then why are we using the array? We could have used Python list instead. Why we will use arrays? One thing you will not understand during arrays is because it will be using two libraries, that is array or numpy, and both of you are currently unaware of. So I will skip that part, but make you understand that array exists and it has a certain benefits. So the importing part, just skip that. Yes, it happens. It is somehow we can do that. If you will try that at home, most probably you will not be able to do that. If you will read the error, you will be able to do that. If you will Google that error, you will be able to do that. So what is an array? An array is a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. If you have a list of items, a list of car names, for example, means a list of items. That example I'm taking is car names, and storing the cars in a single variable could look like this. What is it? Car 1 is Ford, car 2 is Volvo, car 3 is BMW. However, What if you want to loop through the cars and find a specified car like car 2 or car 3? And what if you had if you had not 3 cars but 300 cars? Then we use arrays. Okay, then we use arrays because it is easy to indexing and easier to access it there. That's what the whole advantage of data science is. When I use the word numpy, when I use the word pandas, these are the two most powerful library used in the data science world. To be good data scientist, well, you have to know each and everything about it, and the better you know, the better you would be able to do this. These all things till now, whatever we have read, the list, the dictionaries, the functions and other, these all are methods to be used actually with the data science thing. Knowing Python doesn't makes you a good data scientist. Knowing the libraries makes you a good data scientist. Libraries part we will not be considering in this class. Maybe some other classes, if we make a follow-up. We are planning to do a data science kind of classes. I also mentioned to keep following us, subscribe to our channel. No one did, obviously. Why will you? You doesn't have the time to do that. You will watch some Carry videos and others. But this is better for you. That's why I asked him. We were thinking of giving some basic lectures on YouTube, like live sessions, and anyone can come in and join in, understand those important libraries that, and you guys will better understand because I will make you able to reach that point. So you have to furtherly first step towards being a real world engineer is being a data scientist. Then you will learning machine learning and deep learning, the level which we are into. Okay, so why arrays are there? Arrays are not a built-in library built-in inside a Python program, but Python list can be used for that. Okay, now let's take an example of a small example where array can be used. Okay, what is the difference between a list and array? List and array are used in Python to store data. Again, the same thing are done. Any data types like strings, integer, we have seen that in list we can do 2, 3 and 4 also, and apple, banana and cherry also. Both are indexed and iterated also. Still, there is a difference. Why? Because difference between list and array are the function that you perform on them. Like for example, you want to divide an array by 4, the result will be printed on the request. But in the case of list, the Python will throw an error message, and here how it works. Just see this. When we do this list example, we do a b is equal to an oh sorry, I have put array actually into that. Just think that this is, let me change this. Let me change this to list actually. Okay, so when we do this, when we try to divide a list by 2, so it will give us an error actually. Unsupported operand type for list and int. You cannot do a division for a list. But if we convert it via into an array by calling this library, that's what I was talking about. Do not go in details of this array. There are two libraries that can be used to import array from NumPy also. From array we can import array as well. And then we, instead of using this array thing, list thing, we use the array word and define a list inside it. Then when we print out, then all the values will be divided. So 2 becomes 1, 4 becomes 2, 6 becomes 3, and 8 becomes 4, and another array will be printed out. Just to understand that. But it will be finally a list. Got that? This part, do not worry about this. Do not worry about this library part. I will give a small glimpse of it when we move into the class later on. We will do this later on. But this thing is important, that when we will define instead of list, if you do this right now in your computer, it might not work. Okay, like defining the array, it might not work. But this will work. But as soon as we try to divide it, it will create this error, this type error, that unsupported operand type for list and int is there. Okay, this traceback will come up to you, but here it will be okay, no other issues. What two libraries that usually are used for array importing, I will just name them, not go in detail, that are NumPy and array. Okay, these two are basically used. From import, like you said, no, from a NumPy import array, or from array import array. Python is so easy, as you can see on the previous screen. Python is so easy. It is just like from NumPy, मतलब NumPy से निकाल लाओ किसको, array को, from NumPy call array. It's so simple. Like NumPy is a bag of some pre-written codes, and we are taking out one box of code that is named array. It's just simple as that. It's not so simple with the other languages. We have to be very sure with the syntaxes, or we have to import the entire library. We could have imported the entire library also. We have to written import NumPy. We could have written that also. But in Python has a speciality that it has all the blocks of code as boxes inside a bigger box, and we can call one box also from the bigger box. Okay, it's as simple as that. When we will discuss something about libraries and the pip commands, hopefully we will do that. So then we will discuss this thing. So got this about arrays, because arrays is the last thing that I will teach today. Classes and object may come on Tuesday or on Wednesday, because we have to do an entire revision of this. Anyone has issue with scopes, functions, lambda functions, and array, can let me know. Let me open up the chat. If not, we will cut short the class because only 4 minutes are left. And yes, Meena Sheikh, you have any issues, or again you have just raised the question? And any questions? Try to solve the assignments. Okay, try to understand the question. I want that you guys should put in. And yesterday I didn't put in that Google form that I will ask someone to put in there for you guys, so that you guys can let me know that what topics you didn't understand, and we can do that in revisions. Okay, we will try languages if you have problem with language, or if you have problem understanding a special concept and you are fearing that to do that. Don't put even your name into it, just send it. Just send it so that I could know, because there's nothing to fear about. And try harder at home. Try to find problems. I've already told you about HackerRank and other things. Try to solve those on this weekend. Okay, it's not a chutti. Holidays aren't going on. Okay. Okay, no problem, no issues. So what is now? NumPy is a library. NumPy is a library which is widely used. I will explain what NumPy and pandas actually when we will discuss the pip commands. Actually, this was not the part of our things. Actually, we have skipped a lot of things. Not a lot of things, smaller things. Let me come to the very starting of the presentation. Yes, like we haven't discussed this frequency table that we need to discuss. Okay, we have discussed this all. Now this revision part is missing. That's why I'm saying. Then we will discuss these, and after this we will get time. I think we have still 8 or 9 days left. So after this we will get time. There we will discuss something to actually do this. And for that guided project, you have to know this NumPy, you have to know this pandas and others. So I will explain that at that time. For now, understand that this Python, everything in Python is like a bag of is a box containing various small boxes. A very big box containing small boxes. Okay, think of a big box. I will explain that in animation in the next class. Okay, so Python is like a big box where there are very small box. All the built-in functions, all the functions definitions, these are all built-in boxes that is inside the Python. Okay, these are small boxes. When you call one thing like a variable, you are picking up the small box. Now there are things in the Python that we can do by saving by importing new libraries. What are these new libraries? They doesn't come in handy with the Python, but you can install it like Python NumPy. Currently, if you will try to import it in your Jupyter notebook, it may give you an error that NumPy is not defined in your Jupyter notebook. It will give you the error. but there is method to install that, and now a new box of numpy will be there. So when we write, and numpy is also another bigger box but smaller than Python. So what we'll do when we write like from numpy import array, so the it will go inside the bigger box to the numpy box, then it will open the numpy box and will take out the array box and just put it out here, so that no other programs are hindered, no other programs are touched, only that array code, array amount of code is called. That's why it is fast to execute the Python code. Python is one of the fastest, like Golang and Kotlin is also very good, but Python is also very faster to do that. So we will understand that when we will come to the PEP and other things. Okay. Any other questions? Not regarding Python and pandas or data science? Next entire week will be for you to be prepared for the data science thing. Okay, so I will make you understand. We will start some classes for that as well. Okay, and we will explain you this that things. Okay. No other questions, or should we stop the classes? We have reached here till now, and we will go for the revisions. Only frequency table is missed. We will do that also when the time comes. Okay, so see you guys on Monday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow, let me have some leave. We will extend the classes by 1 day, and we will do that. Okay. Bye bye.